Things that echo back the sound with a high amount of amplitude are going to be known as hyperechoic. It's going to be very white. It'll be a very white on the grayscale value. And things that don't echo the sound back are going to be very dark, black, anechoic. Let me show you on my ultrasound device. What I'm going to do is demonstrate how the gain works on the probe. So I'm using the Butterfly IQ3 here, and you can think of the gain as either making the probe more sensitive or less sensitive to the sound that's being reflected back to it. So I'm going to get just a lung view here. We're going to go between two ribs, right? So I put it on right here, probe markers going up towards her head. And boom, I can see right there we have a rib. So you see your little rib right there? How it's a circle? Yep, and so I'm going to try to find two ribs. So you see how I have the two ribs there? And then right in the middle, you see that bright white line? Yeah. That's where the parietal layer meets the visceral layer. So the visceral layer is like covering the lung, and the parietal layer is just outside of that. So if you hold that for me right here, if I take my finger and I go like this, it's going to make the probe more sensitive to the sound, and just come down or up a little bit right there. It's going to make it more sensitive. And so if it gets more sensitive, it sees that and it goes, oh, wow, look at all the stuff coming back. Because some of the stuff it would have blocked out and said, that's not really a reflection, that's just artifact. But if I turn it down and make it less sensitive, now it gets really, really, really dark. And then the only things I see are those with the higher amplitudes of reflection. So ideally, what you want to find when you're trying to locate the VPPI right there is you want to find a rib and rib shadow, and you're looking at that bright line right there. And that lets me know that I'm looking at the visceral parietal pleural interface. And then if I'm wanting to see the sliding at that point, then I can turn my gain down. And sometimes that makes it a little bit easier to see they'll call it ants marching or shimmering of that line. So I'm just increasing or decreasing the sensitivity of the transducer elements within the actual probe. So as we saw, the ribs are going to echo back a lot of that sound right away, which means, well, we don't collect any information below the ribs. There's nothing coming back to the transducer element. And we could see that here when we actually overlay a picture of ultrasound. You can see the tops of the ribs here are hyperechoic, and then we go anechoic. And then this is hyperechoic and then anechoic. And, you could crank your gain up, which makes the piezo crystals more sensitive to stuff coming back, but then you get a lot of artifact as well. So it's finding the right mix to where things that should be dark, should be black or anechoic, like shadows or fluid are, but you're not losing or dampening your VPPI or the echogenic borders of different organs by turning your gain down too low.